Hey guys, welcome back. We have a weekend energy update to get into. If you have been following along with my reports this week, I have been saying that I feel like we have some sketchy energy coming in this weekend. I still feel that way. Honestly, we got a couple of different things happening at the same time this weekend. Both of them on their own are a little bit iffy when you put them together and then add in the moon's transits this weekend as well. I think it could honestly just be a bit of a hot mess out there. We have a kind of recipe for disaster going on. I'm calling this borderline sort of red flag energy weekend, and we've got a lot to talk about. We have an exact Mars South Node conjunction taking place in the sign of Virgo this weekend, on the same day that we also have a Sun-Chiron square coming exact in cardinal signs. We also have Mercury stationing retrograde on Friday. Mercury is ruling the position of that Mars South Node conjunction. Venus is in the sign of Gemini, also ruled by Mercury, in square to Mars and the South Node in their conjunction. And we also have black moon energy going on. The moon in its transits is activating the South Node Mars conjunction. Generally, you guys, I just think that we should probably operate and move through life from a place of caution and care throughout the course of this weekend. There are positive ways that we can use this energy. I'm going to talk about them in our report for the weekend as well, but all in all, it could just be a bit of a more challenging, difficult weekend. This too shall pass. And let's get into the report, you guys. Put all this together, take a good look at what we do have playing out there, how events and situations may be manifesting as a result, and how our energy is setting us up as we prepare to enter next week. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, July 18th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. In this video, we are just going to take a good look at our energy forecast we've got going on out there this weekend and how that could potentially be manifesting in the world around us. So we've got a lot to talk about, you guys. Per my intro, per my other videos this week, I have been referencing what we had coming into fruition this weekend energetically, and I do have to say I do classify this type of energy setup as a bit of a red flag energy, and as a result of that, you know, caution, awareness, maybe not putting yourself in compromising or vulnerable situations, and just kind of realizing this is a bit of a this too shall pass energy. It is purposeful. There are positive ways and positive octaves that this energy can be used and expressed and, you know, manifest itself in terms of. So not all is lost, but it just is giving messy vibes to me. And I'm going to tell you in depth all the reasons. This is honestly probably going to be another long report. There has been so much just like heavy hitting astrology going on lately. This is another weekend where we've got that type of energetic setup underway. First of all, and I feel like, you know, most significantly, but I do hesitate to say that because the Sun-Chiron square in cardinal signs that we have exactly this weekend, that's a big potent energy as well that is probably going to be giving some type of results. But primarily this Mars South Node conjunction happening in the sign of Virgo, that is an energy that is always, to me, kind of sketchy. It has a tendency of like pressing the lower octave Mars button, meaning that a lot of times we can see kind of like the more aggressive, hostile, angry, combative Lord of War archetype emerge with Mars when we're dealing with the South Node energy. The South Node represents loss. It's a release point. It has to do also with karmic release. There is a lot of karma going on out there this weekend. Karma being cashed in, karma being released, karmic cycles ending, karmic cycles coming into fruition. Karma really is a super prominent theme. It has been all week. It definitely is again this weekend. Chiron is activated. Chiron has a lot to do with karma, the karmic cycles that we find ourselves living out over and over, and ultimately the hero's journey that we must go on to transcend those states of karmic attachment and free ourselves from the karmic bonds that have kept us attached to our lower nature states of victimhood, like perpetual continual cycles of wounding and trauma, okay? So all of that type of stuff could be relevant somehow. Of course, a lot of people are going to be experiencing this from an unconscious level, all right? And so we've got black moon energy happening this weekend as well. I think that people could be triggered, fears being triggered, and kind of acting out as a result of that. We also have a Venus-Mars square that is going on that is actually our opening energy for next week as well. That could be bringing discord, disharmony, conflict going on within relationship dynamics. And energy could just feel low, depleted. Don't push it, you guys. This is not at all a weekend where you want to force things that just don't seem to be going or flowing. Like literal like illness or injury could result if we are just going too hard in this energy. Take it easy if you can, take a break if you can. Again, this is like this too shall pass type of energy. A lot of people are going to be looking to escape reality. Another thing I want to say up front, I feel like there is probably an enhanced likelihood of intentional and unintentional like drug and alcohol overdoses going on this weekend. So if you know people that struggle with that type of thing, maybe something to be mindful of. And just generally, don't set your expectation that you're just going to necessarily like be your best self, be your most productive, be your most functional, be your most like mentally sharp and with it this weekend. Energy is not supportive of that. Again, there are several things that energy is supportive of, most of them along the lines of making changes, making edits, making alterations, doing things differently, interrupting patterns. Like this is where energy is geared and oriented, and we'll talk about the best ways to use it in that regard as we do get through this report. But you know, it could just be like one of those days. And I also wouldn't be surprised if we did see some type of like collective like trauma event take place in energy like this as well. I'm telling you, this combination of the Mars South Node Virgo and the Sun-Chiron square like on the same day. The moon, you guys, I always tell you about the moon. The moon, like I swear, whenever we have like a significant aspect going on, energy being activated, the moon always seems to be involved somehow, amplifying that energy, because that is often what the moon's transits do, is amplify the energy of other aspects that are going on by like hitting them through some angle somehow. We happen to actually have the moon in Taurus trining Mars in the South Node in the sign of Virgo as they come together on Saturday this weekend. So again, while it's not the square, which is an energy that we're actually going to be dealing with as we move into next week, I'll talk about that at the end of the report, and of course in my video for Monday, the trine in earth signs, this I do think is actually like enabling the energy of whatever Mars South Node conjunct in Virgo is bringing. And because this is also happening in earth signs, we're likely to see physical, tangible manifestations of this energy. Like things are probably happening on the ground along these lines, and by these lines I will elaborate in terms of what that means when we've got a configuration going on like this. But we're probably going to see things happening as a result of this aspect because it's happening in earth signs and because the moon is trining this aspect from the sign of Taurus, earth sign also. And another thing before I dive into all the details and like really get into the bulk of my report for the day, all of this energy is like very strangely entangled to me. Like really a lot of this, even though we have like a series of different aspects taking place in different signs that would appear on the surface as though they're unrelated, if you like follow the thread or follow the breadcrumbs or like, you know, unweave the tapestry that this whole thing is weaving together, it becomes very apparent that they're actually all entangled, they're actually all working together, they're actually all like part of the same thing, even though they're different planets and different aspects and different signs. Like there really is this energetic feedback loop that's going on right now, and it feels like a part of, honestly, like some major cosmic momentum that is being, I don't know, it's the nodes of the moon, right? This is fate, this is karma, this is destiny, this is the hand of God, this is being like divinely orchestrated somehow. There are positive omens coming through here to me, you guys. The symbolism is quite telling in the context of the way that these aspects are hitting. I will say, you know, just as I've been prefacing this with, I guess, you know, what would be perceived as a bit of more like negative tone to things, the position where Mars and the South Node are aligning, this is happening at the Sabian symbol placement of 20 degrees of the sign of Virgo. That Sabian symbol is a caravan of cars headed for promised land. So we're going in the right direction, even if we do have to navigate a bit of a storm to get there. Mercury is stationing retrograde at the Sabian symbol, 16 degrees of Leo. That Sabian symbol is after brilliant sunshine after a storm, or the other way of writing it is after a storm, all of nature rejoices in brilliant sunshine. So it's like we may be navigating some trials and tribulations coming up here over this next couple days somehow in our personal lives. Maybe it's hitting on a more macrocosm level, but caravan of cars headed to the promised land, brilliant sunshine just after the storm, rejoicing after the storm. Something good is likely to come following whatever we may be being bruised or battered by along the way as this Chiron energy, this South Node energy hits this weekend. So there's my interlude into my actual report for today. Now I'm going to get into my notes. I want to start by focusing on this Mars South Node conjunction that we've got going on. This is an energy that we only get about once every 2 years or so. And as I mentioned earlier, I feel like the South Node has a tendency of like pulling out the lower octave Mars energy. Of course, Mars does rule our energy, and it has to do with the energy body, and it's the active force. It has to do with actions that are happening. And with the South Node, it can lead more towards the aggression, violence, attack, destructive nature of Mars energy. In its best expression, this combination of planetary energy happening in the sign of Virgo is actively breaking cycles and patterns and making aggressive changes to how things are done generally. And that probably applies to essentially like all things when we've got collective energy hitting like this. It is a point of active karmic release. And in the sign of Virgo, that's like the systems and the protocols that take place in order to achieve some type of result. Virgo has to do, it's the sign of the harvest. It has to do with habits, routines, the day-to-day, how we serve self and others, the work that we do, our lifestyle, diet, nutrition, health, and well-being, and stuff like that as well. It can also rule employees. It can also rule pets. Take extra care of your pets this week. You may want to keep an extra eye on them as well. I mentioned that in my video for Monday. Sometimes like our pets can get sick and stuff like that when we have a Virgo influence that is also featuring a situation like Mars and the South Node together. So something, you know, maybe to be a bit mindful of, but this is karmic release, you guys. Mars, again, is this active influence, and the South Node, this is the point that literally represents karmic release. So active karmic release. And obviously, as a result, this is a very karmic time generally. As I said a minute ago, both I feel like in terms of, well, being released from karmic cycles, but also initiating a process that could potentially be leading us on a path to release ourselves from karmic cycles that maybe we had been unaware of until this point in time. There could be a lot of that goes on here, especially with the black moon energy also being activated. And we are going to have, you guys, our first activation of Uranus at 0 Gemini from the moon on Sunday. following everything that goes on Saturday. So I do think there could perhaps be some type of like deep inner, even like subconscious revelations that take place that actually do assist or facilitate a process maybe of healing ourselves on those deeper levels, gaining an awareness of maybe some things that had been holding us back or some hangups or where we had been trapped in certain cycles. And, you know, as a result of that, maybe learning or gaining an awareness of or getting some insight into how we can overcome or release ourselves from those things. But karmic, when we're dealing with karmic situations, even when we're dealing with processes of karmic release, oftentimes this can be like incorporated in or comprised of or made of or as a result of overcoming or navigating difficulty, challenges, you know, and especially with the Sun-Chiron square that's happening simultaneously. This can be about painful or traumatic events going on or things that have happened in the past. Major emphasis on the past with this as well, things coming back around. There could also be like things coming up from childhood or old trauma surfacing right now for the purpose of us being able to gain an awareness and release ourselves from those things. Or, you know, again, like there could be an active process of karmic wounding or karma somehow, pain, suffering that is inflicted or just highlighted as we move throughout the course of the weekend. But there's a flip side to it. We are dealing with Chiron. We are dealing with karmic release. Anything that is, you know, of that more challenging or painful or difficult nature that does come up right now, like the flip side of that is the wisdom and power to be gained through a process of overcoming. So, you know, we've got two sides of a coin going on when we are dealing with a karmic energy. We have the, in a Chiron archetype, we have the initial states of wounding and victimhood that like get us trapped in these cycles, but we also have the ability to gain the wisdom through the experience that is necessary to finally overcome and release ourselves from them, and then be standing on the other side with like this profound sense of wisdom and power that we can then use to consciously create our experiences outside of that karmic loop or that subconscious programming or however we associate that pattern that perhaps we had been moving through cyclically, you know, as a result of our lack of awareness that it was even going on or how to get out of it. So I do think that in a lot of cases, we could be finding our way out of situations that seemed like they would never end somehow. That's another thing that this energy is doing. I've been talking about it all week, like kind of at its core. I feel like Mars South Node in the sign of Virgo, this is about interrupting patterns that have been going on too long. We're not going to be able to like keep the wheel spinning in the same way over and over. So a lot of things could be changing, a lot of conflicts could be coming up, a lot of things could be happening suddenly and unexpectedly, and a lot of things could potentially just be coming to a head, coming to a point of no return, coming to their final conclusion as we move through the energy this weekend. And it could be painful endings with the Chiron influence as well, but this is again like all quite purposeful, and caravan of cars headed for the promised lands, you guys. Sunshine after the storm. It's not gonna be this way forever. There are brighter days on the other side, but for whatever reason, we gotta burn off some karma here. And unfortunately, in this 3D Earth life, a lot of times that only happens through like going through the storm. So that may be a bit of a commonplace experience this weekend. I do see, as I mentioned, clear indications of potential for maybe some type of collective trauma event, perhaps especially, honestly, for the USA, the way that all of this is lining up this weekend. I don't personally love it, but it is some next phase in progression towards change for some reason that has to happen in this way at this time. Now, let's tie some of these aspects together, okay? We've got a Taurus moon that is going on as we hit that Mars South Node conjunction energy Friday into Saturday. The Sun, as I said, is also squaring Chiron in cardinal signs. There could be a financial element here. Taurus moon, South Node Mars conjunction in the sign of Virgo. That's earth sign energy. Both Virgo and Taurus can be financially resource, like product, outcome, material, harvest based energy. Chiron also rules wealth and value. So this could be very financial or economic, like reset or resource, asset, value, currency based. This could also have to do Taurus, Virgo with harvest, with agriculture, food production, goods and services. And of course, right now, when the moon is transiting through either Taurus or Scorpio, that is activating black moon energy, because the black moon is currently transiting the sign of Scorpio. The black moon functions in conjunction oppositions, functions in polarities. So when the moon is in the sign transiting where the black moon is, activates black moon. When the moon is in the sign opposing the black moon, activates black moon. Right now, that is the Taurus Scorpio polarity. So the moon's presence in the sign of Taurus, where the moon is as of Friday, is also triggering that black moon energy this weekend. That can bring up fears of loss, like being overly possessive as a result, obsessive about things, competition. This is also, I feel like, amplifying even more potential for attacks, people lashing out. Fear of failure could be kind of a trigger in this energy as well. And conflicting narratives, you guys. Good luck with the two sides of the story matching up in this energy. I don't think things are going to be adding up. I don't think people are going to be generally on the same page. I do think there are going to be conflicting narratives and just two very perhaps differing and conflicting perspectives or ideologies going on here that could be leading to some type of conflict, misunderstandings, miscommunications, misperceptions, lost in translation. All of that we are in like prime time all-star energy for as we move through this week. Like literally Mercury stationing retrograde on Friday. And I'm still kind of doing the summary thing in a few minutes here. I'm going to get to the point in my notes where I go to Friday and start delineating the energy specifically for Friday, and then we'll talk about Saturday, and then we'll talk about Sunday. But Friday is the day that Mercury stations retrograde. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. We have Mars and Venus in a square. That's the masculine and the feminine in a square in Gemini and Virgo, with the South Node also in that conjunction and square happening like at the same time that Mercury has stationed retrograde in the sky. This is like nobody's got their head on straight, okay? Like there is a distortion in the informational field hugely. Like people are not seeing things clearly. Judgments are very skewed on here. Like we are not seeing eye to eye. And as a result of that, again, like I feel like things are messy. And Mercury is stationing in the sign of Leo, ruled by the sun. That's why I'm like, it is a hot mess out there. Like nobody knows. And then don't forget, something I'm not really talking about much today, but that we also have going on is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction with both of them retrograde in the sign of Aries. Like that is diminishing people's self-control and their ability to like have a handle on things, okay? So there's pretty much no grounding. We've got no earth energy. The only earth energy we have going on is this Mars South Node conjunction that is being tried by the moon in Taurus, which is all about losing our grounding, like losing our footing, like not standing on a stable, solid surface, like actually needing to alter the pattern of steps that we're used to taking in order to find any type of like balance. It's really weird. Like the whole picture out here right now to me is just a little weird. Like things are a little off. Like none of this really feels, normal. And then we got to remember we are also talking about the sign of Virgo. This is like mental health, okay? And with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, this is incoherence and like potential for like a breaks from reality. I do think people are going to be struggling with mental health issues, anxiety, restlessness, irritation, agitation, feeling generally unsettled. And then again, this black moon energy being triggered as well, like people perhaps are really dealing with some fears, worries, insecurities, doubts, shadow side issues lashing out. And then on top of that, there could also be these like compromised financial situations or material situations that could be seemingly going on as well. Like, I don't think that this looks great for financial markets. There could be issue with like food supplies and things related also to employees and workers. This could also highlight like things to do with immigration and deportation, the way that this is lining up in Pisces and Virgo, and then health and vitality. And as I just mentioned, mental health, mental institutions and hospitals could see, I think, quite an influx this weekend. The physical body, Mars, okay, with the South Node, this has a tendency of debilitating our just general sense of physical vitality, robust immunity, well-being. And in the sign of Virgo, Virgo is associated with our health, and Chiron is also associated with health and healing in a square to the sun, also having to do with vitality. Both planets that represent like our energy levels and the life force energy, Mars and the sun, are both in situations that are indicating those things being compromised. So this is one reason, like I keep saying, you know, make sure you take care of yourself, make sure you're doing what you need to do to stay healthy. Do not overtax yourself. Do not drain your energy levels. Overexertion can definitely lead to illness and injury here. Be careful also with hot and sharp objects, especially with the hands and fingers when we're dealing with the sign of Virgo. Virgo, well, by Mercury having to do with the hands and the arms and the fingers. Digestion and digestive issues and stomach pains could also be a common ailment this weekend with this happening in the sign of Virgo, digestion and assimilation. This could also be related to maybe some of this nervousness or anxiety or restlessness or these feelings of general unsettledness could be contributing to digestive issues or just be making us feel quite ungrounded. Again, there's pretty much no earth energy. So if you find yourself there, it is just a picture of the current point we are at in reality. But channel energy, you guys, even if it's this nervous energy, you gotta do something, you don't know what to do, you feel like you're going crazy, making small practical changes, improvements, corrections to your routines, to your environment, doing some research on how to maybe make those improvements. Nothing too big, nothing too significant, not setting the bar too high, not expecting like some type of major result or outcome, but educating ourselves in small ways, making small practical changes, doing little things, taking baby steps, stretching, going slow, going for, you know, even just like a walk or something, doing like getting our hands in the soil, gardening and stuff like that. There could be a therapeutic quality here, and it could help to offset and ease some of this tension that is just brewing out there. And also being conscious of the energy, understanding and realizing that you may just not feel your best. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going crazy. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you. It could just be the way that the energy is messing with your brain chemistry this weekend. And, you know, give it a couple days, at least maybe until the middle of next week before you start panicking about, you know, things that may be coming up in this energy now. So now we're going to start talking more specifically about the energy of Friday, okay? And then we will go back into the details associated with the big alignments coming in Saturday and what we got going on Sunday and our setup as we prepare to enter the energy of next week. So we do on Friday, as I already have said, have Mercury stationing retrograde. This is happening at 15 degrees of Leo, Sabian symbol of 16 Leo. Whenever we read the Sabian symbols, we always round up a degree because we read the wave of energy that is incoming, that is pulling in, that is manifesting, that is expressing, not the wave that has passed, that is waning out, and that is exiting. So we're going to be looking at 16 Leo, brilliant sunshine after a storm. We also, this is kind of crazy to me. On Friday, when Mercury stations retrograde, talking about brilliant sunshine after a storm, have the sun at 27 degrees Sabian symbol placement of the sign of Cancer. That Sabian symbol is a violent storm in a canyon filled with expensive homes, which honestly, like, Virgo South Node Mars conjunction, very, very, very aligned with that concept. Sun-Chiron square in cardinal signs also could be aligned with that, but Virgo's an earth sign, right? Like, and the South Node, this is what is going. We could definitely see some type of property damage or some type of violent storms that come through and cause some type of structural damage to go on in an energetic setup like this. Or of course, it could also be some type of metaphor for something else that could correlate to a storm that we find ourselves traversing over the course of the weekend. Really, regardless though, the fact that we've got Mercury stationing, with Mercury being the ruler of the position of the Mars South Node conjunction, and Venus in the square and in the sign of the Sun, who's in the square to Chiron. And Chiron right now, you guys, also is at the Sabian symbol of 28 degrees, a sign of Aries, a large disappointed audience. It just feels like we may need to endure some type of trial, tribulation, aka quote unquote storm, in order to finally see the truth about something, to find the light, to restore the light, to be illuminated somehow, or to get ultimately to the promised land. Brilliant sunshine just after a storm, illumination following whatever it is that we must endure. But also, like, storms do bring a level of cleansing. They do change the state of things. And that is also, I think, one of the things that this energy is assisting us to do, whether or not it is happening in a way that we would choose or sign ourselves up for. But regardless of what happens, regardless of how dark it gets, there is going to be some benefic outcome here. Bright light, brilliant sunshine, not just sunshine, you guys, brilliant sunshine. All of nature rejoices in the brilliance of what is to come once we get through whatever we need to get through. Something might be going down first. Again, like, we do have this black moon energy being activated on Friday. Also, while that Mercury retrograde energy is going on, the moon is in Taurus. Like I've said, the moon enters Taurus on Friday and actually forms a square to Pluto. So we've got black moon activated and the moon forming a square to Pluto. Something could be going down. We could be feeling a bit caught or lost in the shadows. Fears, insecurities, obsessions, people being hyper competitive, hyper possessive, hyper emotionally triggered about stuff, just maybe generally ugly. The nature of conversation could have to do with the past. The past is very relevant this weekend because of the South Node situation, because of the Chiron situation. Chiron rules, early childhood, specifically early childhood wounding, and the South Node is the past in all of its forms. So therefore, with the Mercury energy amplified as well, whenever a planet stations in its motion in the sky, it does amplify the energy of that planet. Mercury is stationed on Friday. So a lot of the thoughts, a lot of the ideas, a lot of the mental focus, a lot of the communication, a lot of the conversations are likely to center around the past, what has happened in the past, how things have gone or played out in the past, pain, wounding, trauma, consequences perhaps of past actions or past situations that have happened, and maybe also people feeling quite vengeful about things and expressing it. Revenge and vengeance could definitely be a vibe this weekend in this type of energetic setup as well. Again, like, very little self-control, not a whole lot of rationality, amplified levels of delusion and incoherence, and people being emotionally triggered. So I don't know, some people could really be quite out for blood this weekend. So again, maybe proceed with a bit of caution, maybe not entering the fray, maybe not putting ourselves in compromising or vulnerable situations, maybe choosing our words, choosing our battles very strategically. I don't know. The Mars-Venus square, you guys, I do think that this could be the last time for a lot of people, especially in dysfunctional relationship dynamics. I think a lot of people are probably going to be cutting ties after things that go down this weekend, going no contact, walking away from people that they find to be draining them, that they find to be toxic, that they find to be like keeping them in these cycles of pain or trauma, or just like hurting them in some type of a way. Conflicts and discord in relationships, especially and most likely where there has already been a level of underlying tension or trauma that hasn't been resolved or addressed. These are likely to implode, suffer losses and breakdowns in an energy blueprint like this coming through this weekend. Painful fights, arguments, disagreements, most likely of a verbal nature are indicated, but people could also like literally be burning things down here. Again, like the destructive, like earth energy. And that Taurus moon is like feeding this. Like there's so many ways that this could manifest. Again, like it could be impacting like the physical body and the physical vessel and depleted immunity and depleted energy levels, but it could also be like people actively destroying physical things. And that moon trine is facilitating that destructive influence in terms of like the material world. So and Mars of course is fire, so people could be like literally or metaphorically burning things down, burning down the past, burning bridges, like all that type of stuff could be relevant throughout the course of the weekend. And if it's not relationship conflict, if it's not breakdowns happening in relationships, there could just be some very weird or different experiences that are taking place, having to do with other people or relationship dynamics or masculine feminine dynamics somehow. Mars, the masculine energy, with the south node squaring Venus in the sign of Gemini, both of these happening in Mercury signs while Mercury stations retrograde. Don't you guys see? Like, we're not on the same page to begin with when we've got a Mercury Virgo square taking place. Like, we are interpreting information through a different lens when we have both of Mercury's signs being activated by a square. But then when Mercury himself is currently stationing retrograde in the sign of the Sun, who's in the square to Chiron and Aries. Aries ruled by who? Aries ruled by Mars. Mars conjunct the South Node, right back to the beginning. You see how all of these things are connected? Let me delineate that for you again. We've got a Mars South Node conjunction happening in the sign of Virgo, ruled by Mercury, squaring Venus in the sign of Gemini, also ruled by Mercury. Mercury, ruling all of that, is stationing retrograde in the sign of Leo. Leo ruled by the Sun. The Sun in the sign of Cancer, squaring Chiron in the sign of Aries, ruled by Mars in the conjunction to the South Node in the sign of Mercury. There's this feedback loop of energy. What is happening with that Venus-Mars South Node square is happening with Mercury stationing retrograde, is involved with this square between the Sun and Chiron, and, you know, with the Sun also being in the sign of the Moon. Where is the Moon, you guys? The Moon is in the sign of Taurus, trining that Mars South Node conjunction and ruled by Venus, who is in the square to Mars. Relationships, ideas, conflict going on, verbal disputes, not seeing things like from the same perspective, not being on the same page, disorientation, confusion, misinterpretation, misperception, misunderstandings, causing fights, causing painful situations, causing breakdowns, but perhaps breaking up patterns that have been perpetuating for too long and like making a necessary shift or change somehow. If the relationship is healthy, something may need to be corrected, you know, there may need to be something that we learn or something that is healed somehow, but healthy relationships can recover from this. Taking the mature approach, listening, being accountable, making real changes. Venus on Saturday, when we have this big energy happening, is at 17 degrees Gemini, a Sabian symbol. That Sabian symbol is the head of a robust youth changes into that of a mature thinker. So our ability to be mature and be accountable and not be so in our ego, you know what I mean? To just be more wise about the way that we're handling situations can help to resolve these problems that may be coming up. But, you know, unhealthy, toxic, or dysfunctional relationships, honestly, they shouldn't go beyond this point anyways. So I wouldn't be surprised if the like sword that swings or the hammer that gets laid down or whatever happens is so impactful this weekend that, again, like, it is for the last time. Like, it is that point of no return. Like, there's no going back after this. Like, this is the point of final contact. And we can't go where life and the world and the unfolding of like our current trajectory through time and space towards the age of Aquarius is trying to take us right now, if we are not releasing the things that are stifling our growth and keeping us trapped and detached from like our true authentic purpose at this point in time. Anything that is remaining right now that is still a blockage or hindrance to growth in the context of some destiny that universe, God, great spirit is requiring us to step into right now, it like literally just cannot continue to persist. We cannot continue to go through life coming from a place where we are detached from like our truth and living inauthentically and being involved in relationships and places and people and situations that are stifling our growth and, you know, keeping us in that diminished state. Even if it's painful, even if it's terrifying, even if it feels like the absolute worst case scenario, like I'm telling you, that's the type of thing that's going to go down in energy like this to get us out of that situation, to get us on another path. Like, even if we literally don't understand it, and again, it seems like, you know, the universe just hates us in this energy because of what's happening, I promise you, on a higher level, like, that is not the case. But sometimes when things have been a certain way for so long, in order to get them to move, in order to get us to wake up, in order to alter things in such a way that we can, you know, really make some true changes, we got to get pushed around pretty hard by, or ground into the ground pretty hard, or, you know, hit a very serious low in order for our eyes to open and to have that light bulb moment and to start doing what is necessary to like pull ourselves out of that place and get on the path to whatever this higher power in our life that is guiding us, that is holding us, that is protecting us, and that does want the best for us is asking of us, or really maybe more so demanding of us right now. So tests also, Virgo is also a sign that has to do with tests. Chiron also is like karmic tests as well. Saturn is another influence that has been prominent lately. I do think that we're being spiritually tested in terms of how far we've come, the lessons that we've learned, and the point that we're at now in our ability to consciously choose the path that we should go on, you know, maybe the hard road because it's the right road, even if it's not the easy road. So all types of stuff like that could be coming up this weekend. Honestly, don't be surprised, of course, if people are super triggered, super acting out, being real ugly about stuff. This is obviously a very tough energetic setup. Even when you know what's happening, even when you are aware of this I don't know, energetic storm that we are moving through right now, those people that are operating below the veil of consciousness here, like, it could be really brutal. And again, like, there's not a whole lot of ability for us to keep a handle on things, to control ourselves, to maintain order, to maintain structure. the ability to be rational, grounded, and in control essentially are all equally void in this energy. And so it might just be like that, okay? Friday could be a real weird day. Things could feel slow. Things could feel confusing, disorienting, annoying, irritating, like nothing is making sense. Obviously, people kind of all over the place. And as we move into the day on Saturday, let's transition and start talking about Saturday now. Of course, that is when all of this direct energy is hitting. We have the exact Sun-Chiron activation. We have the moon in Taurus that is trining the exact conjunction that builds throughout the day towards this Mars South Node activation in the sign of Virgo. Venus is also in the square, right? As I've mentioned, from the sign of Gemini. The moon is opposite the black moon. The moon also, you guys, just to add a little bit more red tape in here, the moon is in the sign of Taurus, also squaring Mercury, who just stationed retrograde on Friday in the sign of Leo as well. And the placement of the Chiron Sun square happens to be exactly opposite and square the natal Pluto of the United States. So, as I have said, I'm going to say it again. I do not love this. I do not love this chart. I do not love this energy. Worst case scenario, we could see some type of false flag event, attack, or casualty event take place. It is what it is. Best case scenario, some type of change or ending or release from some type of pattern that has been negatively impacting the health, wealth, or productivity of the collective or people generally somehow. Those are the two octaves the way I'm seeing it, okay? Of course, that would apply more so on the macrocosm level. On the micro, take it easy, go slow, don't push, pay attention. As I've said, this could be bringing up these health and financial issues, breakdowns in systems of production, things to do with pets, employees, workers, work generally, low depleted energy, and maybe an inability to produce results. This could be a very depressing, low vibe, conflict-oriented energy. Make changes to improve your health, your lifestyle, and your personal productivity. That is how we want to use the energy to achieve the best results here. We don't want to dwell in states of victimhood. We don't want to fall into the woe is me. We do not want to attach to any of these low vibe feelings or feelings of depression or hyper-focused states of wounding and victimhood that could be coming in here. We want to take small actions to make small changes and improvements in ways that can actually benefit us moving forward. Health, as I said, lifestyle, as I said, habits, routines, efficiency, start doing things different. That is what this energy is truly calling for. This is really a very experimental energy, and it is about trying new things. We even have the black moon. I told you guys the black moon is activated this weekend. The black moon is currently at 13 degrees of the sign of Scorpio. That Sabian symbol is an inventor performs a laboratory experiment, which is the best way to use this energy if we are wanting to tap into the higher octaves this weekend. Being experimental, trying new things, finding unique and innovative solutions, thinking outside of the box, trying not to be so critical, not to be so judgmental, not to be compartmentalized about stuff. And again, just not setting our bar or our expectation for productivity or success too high. But being open and willing to making changes and adjustments. We cannot keep telling ourselves the same old story here. Something has to change, be let go. The time is now, and we may have to weather a bit of a storm to get there, you guys, but we are moving again. I'm gonna keep referencing this symbolism. We are moving toward the light, something better, brighter days ahead. The promised lands, that's where this is ultimately all driving us. But, you know, in the moment, the way it feels on Saturday, it could be a struggle. You could definitely be feeling under attack for some reason. There could be a sense of just coming to the end of something, maybe even a desire to like let go, to surrender, to give it all up. Super red flag day, you guys, for me and my perception for drug and alcohol overdoses. People are more prone to be actively seeking or attempting to exit the earth plane, if you know what I mean, an energy like this. So if you know anyone that struggles with mental health issues, issues having to do with drugs and alcohol consumption, I would definitely, you know, keep an eye on them, monitor the situation this weekend, because this energy to me is like bad for that type of stuff, okay? And if you're struggling yourself, remember, this is a passing energy. This is not the like lasting state of things. This is a momentary thing. This too shall pass. You're going to feel entirely different about things soon, and it is trying to teach us something. It is trying to show us something. It is trying to actually awaken us to something that is somehow going to make us wiser, make us more free, make us more powerful, make us more independent, make us more resourceful, make us or allow us to be more authentic somehow in the future. Mars conjunct the South Node in Virgo, okay, but that is opposing the North Node in the sign of Pisces. Our outlet here, our antidote, our remedy here, you guys, is seeking the spiritual connection, surrendering to a higher power, allowing spirit to guide us, trusting in the power of collaboration with a cosmic consciousness. There could be, you know, this worldly pain or this suffering represented in the energy this weekend. Our connection to a higher power, though, and our belief that we are truly in the hands of God, that we are protected, that we are watched over, and that we are moving in a better direction, which is indicated, all signals are indicating that, even if that direction requires or includes some type of hero's journey before we get to the final destination, this is a purposeful energy. Spiritual growth is going to be the outcome. Oftentimes, the flip side of suffering and pain is spiritual growth that results from the wisdom that those experiences provide. This is the Chiron element. This is the hero's journey. This is where we go when we go through the dark night of the soul and we return aligned with our higher self, as opposed to attached to the lower instinctual ego-based nature that oftentimes we come in with. So we've got energy, and we are going through a North Node Pisces transit. This is always going to be a year and a half that in some way encourages us along a path to spiritual growth. And honestly, at this point in time, a lot of what we're experiencing could be ultimately about that in and of itself anyways, okay? Learning how to transcend some type of material suffering through some type of spiritual growth that is gained in the process. This could be a major part of the lesson plan that is playing out this weekend. With the Taurus moon trining Mars South Node in Virgo, this could also be people surrendering possessions or just like giving things away, maybe losing material things or items or resources, valuable somehow. But I do think a lot of people are going to be inspired to clean things up, to declutter, and with this, looking to get rid of things. So that could be a more like simple, mundane way that this energy manifests, like people just feeling driven to clean things up, to clear things out, to move things out, and to get rid of stuff. We definitely could see some of that. A final note on the energy for Saturday, this symbolism is again like blowing my mind in terms of the symbols that are being presented by the degree placement juxtaposed to what these aspects are indicating generally. Listen to the degree placements for the Sun-Chiron square that we've got exactly happening in cardinal signs on Saturday. The reason why I mentioned the cardinal nature of the energy is because cardinal energy, this is an action-oriented energy. It's interesting because we've got a cardinal square going on, which is talking about like things happening, things being activated. Like this is an active initiatory, like momentum generating energy when we're dealing with aspects taking place in cardinal signs. And then on the flip side of that, we've got this mutable square going on as well between Venus and Mars and the South Node in mutable signs, and that is a transitory energy. Mutable energy is about transition, it's about change, it's about adaptation, things flowing from one state to another. So again, just by the nature of these squares that are simultaneously taking place this week, we've got active change that is being indicated through things coming to a head and some type of evolution or growth that somehow needs to occur in order to like overcome these conflicts or these challenges that are present. So listen to the symbolism, and I just feel like this fits perfectly. We have the sun at 27 degrees of the, or 28 degrees of the sign of Cancer on Saturday, and the square to Chiron at 28 Aries. 28 Cancer is an Indian girl introduces her college boyfriend to the assembled tribe. And then the position where Chiron is, I already told you guys this one, I've been referencing it throughout the course of the week, but it is literally a large disappointed audience. So we've got an Indian girl introduces her college boyfriend to the assembled tribe, and then we've got a large disappointed audience. So, you know, to me, it seems as though if we consider that these two energies are intertwined or fitting together somehow, there doesn't seem to be the best response to this particular introduction. And we're talking about here literally some of these same themes that all of this energy has been indicating, especially also this current Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we've got going on in the sign of Aries right now as well, that I have been talking on and on about, and how we're at a point of breaking from the old order, breaking from the old tradition. Like this square, at least in its symbolic references by the degree placements that's occurring at, is all about defying tradition, defying authority, defying the past, defying the elders, changing the way that things are done moving forward, disruptions in patterns, disruptions to the status quo, the end of the old ways, the old world, the old era, something radically new, radically different, taking the reins. This is directly referring to also relationship dynamics as being that point of contention, of transition, of change. The girl is introducing her college boyfriend to the assembled tribe, Venus and Mars and square, large disappointed audience, relationship dynamics as a catalyst for everything present here, ideas and ideologies clashing, disappointment, maybe painful feelings and reactions about stuff, maybe, but change, you know, definitely, evolution, certainly something radically different. It just seems to be what's on the table right now. And literally the position of the North Node is a table set for an evening meal. So things are pretty laid out. That may be something that is obvious to you in terms of the way that things are playing out for you. But yeah, I don't know. It does seem like the there could be something here about having to defy orders, defy norms and expectations, go against the grain somehow, or like the established order of things. But that is also a part of this greater process where the established order of things, the past is breaking down, and we've got this crazy, radically different new emergence that is, you know, coming up simultaneously. Now let's talk about Sunday, you guys. On Sunday, we have much of the same energy coming and carrying over from Saturday. Mars is still exactly conjunct the South Node on Sunday. Venus is actually tightening in her square from Gemini to Mars in the South Node. The Sun is still in a square to Chiron, although now we are on the other side of that square. This will begin to move apart and wane, and the impact of it should be less potent, should be a bit diminished on Sunday. So, you know, all in all, though, we do still have the same sketchy energy from Saturday carrying over, but Sunday there is a variance, I think, in how this may feel or how this energy may be expressing itself, because the moon's transit changes quite radically. The moon leaves the sign of Taurus, which is a good thing because this does alleviate that black moon energy as the moon exits Taurus. The black moon shadow side issues like fears, worries, insecurities, doubts being triggered is not going to be a part of the story. That's really kind of like intertwined in all of this anymore. But what is going to happen is the first lunar contact to Uranus, since Uranus has entered the sign of Gemini and is currently sitting at 0 degrees of the sign of Gemini. And of course, also that's going to activate this trine to Pluto. So, shocking information, unexpected change, sudden transformation. Sunday could be crazy day, unusual. People could definitely be shocking you with what's coming out of their mouth, what they have to say, the choices and decisions that they seem to be suddenly making. Sunday is honestly like a total wild card. This is super, super, super potent Uranian energy. Also, this could be triggering some very psychic, almost like borderline prophetic, telepathic, like crazy mental experiences. You could feel sort of like all-knowing somehow in the energy as it hits on Sunday. Flashes of insight, sudden downloads, light bulb moment, electric bolt, lightning bolt through the mind, sudden awakening, eye-opening moment. This type of stuff could be kind of extreme and kind of honestly like a bit radical. Literally people just like knowing things all of a sudden out of nowhere. That could be definitely an expression of this hyper potent Uranian energy that we've got going on Sunday. This could also really kind of be like electrifying the atmosphere. This nervous tension, anxiety could be back strong. Sense of anticipation maybe, or just like literally feeling the electricity in the air in a way that is making you feel kind of unsettled or ungrounded in the energy of Sunday. That could be like a way that we're palpably feeling this energy. Definitely this is going to be the unexpected type of day, and this is also like incredibly change inducing. Not only are we now talking about the South Node Mars conjunction in Virgo, which is change inducing energy, pattern interrupting energy, but the moon conjunct Uranus at 0 degrees of Gemini, that is also talking about making some like big sweeping, like impulsive changes. Okay, any way you slice it, this is definitely change making energy. So I imagine you guys, whatever went on Friday or Saturday, by Sunday, unexpected changes are underway as a result of whatever that is. Strong likelihood for shocking, unexpected information, messages, announcements, conversations, communications, contact, people from the past. Also remember, this is Mercury energy. Mercury just stationed retrograde. People from the past could be shocking you, showing up, coming back around, circling back somehow. There could also be, Uranus is at 0 degrees of Gemini. That's the Sabian symbol for 1 degree of Gemini. A glass bottom boat reveals undersea wonders, revelations, seeing what's been hidden, understanding or gaining a greater understanding of what's really been going on under the surface of things in a way that is very revealing or illuminating, or awakens us to something somehow that requires some type of maybe sudden change. We could have stuff like that going on. This weekend also strongly features energy, of course, that is indicating, these battles of the narratives, like I said, these information wars, conflicting stories, two sides of the story, again, that like don't add up, don't line up, various people vying for the factual and accurate basis of things, and definitely a lack of ability to discern truth from illusion. But I do think that Sunday is pulling through here with maybe like, again, some type of instantaneous knowing, some piece of sudden information that comes, some type of an awakening to something that could actually be clearing maybe some of this stuff up. So there could be a shock factor associated with the day somehow on Sunday. We could get some answers maybe to some of the things that had been confusing us or unclear somehow, or creating conflict maybe in the energy of Friday and Saturday. But it does seem like whatever goes on Friday and Saturday is likely to trigger maybe some of these unexpected changes that could come into fruition on Sunday when we've got this real potent Uranian activation that goes on. Like, people are not going to be predictable, also very unpredictable. Like I said, this is a wild card energy, and it just could be crazy out there this weekend, you guys. And I actually do think things are still likely to be at odds as we enter the energy of Monday of next week. Monday actually is going to be another report kind of like this one. We are going to have we actually enter the energy of Monday with the exact square taking place between Venus and Mars and the South Node. And wouldn't you know it, the moon transiting through the sign of Gemini on Monday is conjunct to Venus and square Mars and South Node. So we are going to, on Monday, be starting our week with a lunar activation of this Venus-Mars South Node square in both of Mercury's signs. And so there is more to come on that on Monday. Relationships, again, unhealthy relationships, definitely gonna struggle to make it beyond this point, rightly so, as they should. Healthy relationships are probably honestly going to get an upgrade as a result of, you know, what each person is learning about themselves and each other, and then applying in terms of maturing the relationship now and moving forward. And so that's generally what I have to say, you guys, about the energy this weekend. Where we're at as we begin to move into the energy of next week. Next week, again, like it could, I haven't looked further through the week other than what we've got going on Monday. But we do still have a bit of this sketchy, turbulent energy, I would say, especially in the context of relationships or, you know, financial stuff like that could be happening as we move into next week. But that's how I feel about this weekend, you guys. That's where we're at. That's what I think. And again, like it really just is what it is. Our remedy to this is to strengthen our faith. That's really all we can do in this situation. And that's what we're supposed to be doing as well, because as I've been saying, and I will continue to say now and moving forward into this stronger Aquarian energy, our relationship to God, spirit, universe, a higher power is going to become more tangible, more perceptible. We are going to be able to like physically see the hand of God present in our own personal experience more and more so as we move forth into this new energy from now over the course of this next 2,000 years. And if it takes us, you know, having to get taken down or, you know, address painful, difficult experiences or go through some pretty serious lows in order to awaken to the power of that presence in our life, that's what we're going to be doing. That's where we're going to find ourselves most likely. Not because, you know, life hates us, but because there is something that we need to awaken to here that we have failed to perceive for some reason up until this period of time. And like there's some learning curve, cosmic learning curve coming through right now that is no longer going to allow us to sleep on that. So the North Node in the sign of Pisces, you guys, spiritual growth as a result of South Node, Mars, Virgo, whatever patterns or ways of doing things need to be interrupted, need to be disturbed, need to be reorganized somehow right now. That's what I got. Sun square Chiron may not be the most pleasant experience. Hero's journey. It is bringing us back into the light, you guys. Caravan of cars headed to the promised lands. I'm going to end on that note, and I'm going to get us some spiritual guidance. I am asking for going to get a synchronicity card, message from God, spirit, universe. What do we need to know to help us on our journey this weekend? What should we keep in mind? What should we tell ourselves? What would be the best spiritual guidance that we can apply in the context of all of this? And the first card that we have coming out just says yes, which is kind of funny considering everything that I was just saying. So yes, you guys, it is the spiritual guidance. I'm going to get us another card now, asking the same question. God, spirit, universe, what is it that we need to know, tell ourselves, keep in mind? What is our message? What is our cosmic memo as we move Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend, and this energy comes through. There we got another card. And our card, you guys, for the weekend says turn off the world. Folly is joy to him destitute of wisdom. Proverbs 15:21. Looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for joy in externals, finding joy in lurid drama, hate-filled music, and other synthetic entertainment, you will find joy within yourself. Turn off the noise and listen to the voice within. Search for your wisdom within. Be happy with yourself inside, and you will find joy. So that is, there it is, you guys. Maybe detaching from the greater dramas of the world this weekend, really centering down within self. And again, like doing what we can do, making those small practical adjustments to our lives, to ourselves in ways that facilitate our own personal experience of joy, maybe despite whatever craziness is just swirling around out there in the world around us. So that's our message. That's our synchronicity card for the weekend. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I hope there was something relevant in there for you somehow. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this particular type of astrology content, if they want to narrate the shift of the ages with us. I would love to have them. Leave me comments also, you guys, if you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos that reflect what seems to be present in the energy field. Drop me a comment, let me know. That's very valuable information to me. Again, truly, I value your presence here. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group where I post images of those boards. Take a picture, post it over there. You can see the whole board if you click that link in my description box below. And that's what I have to say today, you guys. Come back with me on Monday. As I stated, we will be getting right back into it. Venus, Mars, exact square, Gemini, Virgo, South Node with the moon. So we've got some things to talk about. I will be back to do just that. I will see you guys on Monday. Wishing everybody a beautiful weekend. Proceed with a bit of caution and care out there. Love you guys, and until next time, bye.